For the record. So I'll open the Warren County Commissioners Work Session of Monday, July 6th. And there's no, to my knowledge, public hearing. Are there any old items to discuss? I assume we just give a quick update on the CARES Act situation. Is that okay?
Sure.
So we're gonna be working this week on finalizing the information on how the CARES Act money is going to be distributed. We're very close to having an application together for that. And I think that what's gonna happen is we'll have a proposal for the work session next Monday, and then that's when we'll kind of flesh out.
There is no work session next Monday, that's the 13th, and we will be at Northwest County Commissioners meeting.
We should probably move the work session to Tuesday then, because we really should get that done. What do you?
Why don't we make the decision after talking to DNA tomorrow?
Okay. Let's see.
So kind of the CARES Act pot. I've gotten a couple of requests already from fire department. So formalizing those. That's what I'm working on this afternoon. Kind of the form to fill out, so to speak. And the city has about 20,000 in various costs that they would like reimbursed. Maybe announced at the COG meeting the other day. So far, didn't hear of any expenses from other municipalities that need to be reimbursed besides the city.
Yeah, I've just had a few, actually mostly nonprofits contact me about the situation. I told them that more information would be forthcoming.
Okay.
I think that's all of the old business we have to discuss. I can't think of anything else. Can you, Commissioner Coughlin?
Nope.
Okay, so new items. I think that you wanted to discuss the agenda for Wednesday's meeting.
Yeah, that's really the main thing that needs to get on the table. So, what all do you have written on the agenda there?
Well, let's see. I'll work from Pam's. Let's see. We have a few a couple of proclamations. We have the USDA Communities Facilities Grant Program Agreement.
Yep.
The IDA appointees.
Yep.
And then there's the ZNA CARES Act Agreement, letter supporting
Is that
Youngsville.
with DNA or is that with that? We already passed one with DNA.
No, it's with DNA.
I thought we were looking for one from Susquehanna County.
No, the one he sent over was from, oh, I guess that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Susquehanna. And then the IDA appointments, letter supporting Youngsville TV, repository tax bids, and then we have a appointment letter for a gentleman to the Housing Authority.
Right, and then the next thing I wanted to add was I would like to extend the sunset on the EMS task force. We just didn't get everything done that we were going to in the March, April, May timeframe because of COVID. So a little behind.
Well,
That's the extension.
are you sure that didn't we put the date like at the end of the term?
No, I think it was July 15th.
Huh. Okay, well, how about this? I'll take a look at the resolution that we passed and then just edit it to push it out to,
I already drafted up an amendment paragraph, so I don't think anything more needs to be done. I just need to add it to the agenda.
okay. And then the Human Services Block Grant Manual Plan.
Right.
Which Rhonda provided a draft of this morning, right, Pam?
Yes. I didn't print it because it's 51 pages.
I'm thinking about the trees, Pam, that's.
Tree player.
Yeah. So the USDA Community Facilities Grant Program Agreement, can you refresh my memory on that one?
Right, so that is the program that the sheriff initially applied to on behalf of the county to get some more radio projects done.
That's right.
We're telling like extra radios, battery replacements, I can't remember, or there was the Inwell Courthouse repeater was actually on that list. The reason it's been held up is partly legal mumbo jumbo, but now we're also reevaluating what the top priorities are. So something on that list is not relevant anymore, but we're trying to change it a little bit to better fit the needs of what the sheriff's department and 911 center needs. So a third of it is a grant, and the other 2/3 is a loan. I think we've been approved for up to $150,000 loan and a $50,000 grant. I don't anticipate using all of that, but you know, again, the stuff that public safety had on the list as needs a year ago when we first started the process are not the top priority needs anymore. So we're just kind of still putting together quotes and such. I talked with Courtney Bailey from USDA, I say Thursday or Friday about it all. So, you know, we're on the same page. We just need to pass this again as we're changing things.
Okay. And then the IDA appointments, do you have a list that you've sent to us? I don't remember.
I asked a couple organizations for recommendations, and I have a few of those back. Dan, would you do me a favor and look on the bylaws or whatever documentation you have on the IDA and see how many members are needed, like what the minimum is?
Okay.
And the letter supporting Youngsville TV is just the letter supporting them in the reverse auction?
That's good. And Tom sent us the language to that.
Yeah, the rest of it's
Pretty middle.
yeah, the rest of it's pretty straightforward.
Good.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
That's it on the agenda that I wanted to see,
Okay.
that I can remember anyway.
Okay. The upcoming commissioners meeting is going to be Wednesday at noon in the Jackson courtroom for anyone that's interested. And those that want to, that don't want to attend in person can sign into that one. Will be a GoToMeeting. We'll set the laptop up for GoToMeeting for that one. Are there any committee department updates? No. Okay. Is there anything for the commissioner's schedule that we want to mention? I don't have.
I already emailed you all about this, but because of the CARES application stuff, the reading that I need to do in advance of the CAP class and the radio cutover, my schedule is just kind of in flux, and maybe in the course, it might be at 911, might be at a coffee shop trying to focus, so we'll see.
Okay.
But everything's on my calendar, I'll be
Okay. General discussion, does anybody have anything that they'd like to discuss? Jane?
I do, but is this a department person or something?
This is Attorney Schmidt, he's the solicitor for the
Hello.
county.
If you had another department person, I'd let them go first.
No, I don't think Schmidt has anything he wants to update anyone on.
No.
I'm Jane Dunshee, and here on my own behalf, about 10 days ago, I started a quest to find out where was our health department and who was our Warren County Health Department director. And I have discovered that there is not a person dedicated to that role. That I guess Jeff and Ben and Tricia are our health department and the tri-party heads of the same. So what I was going to ask, if I had a person I could go to that woke up each day thinking, part of my life deals with COVID-19 and preparing Warren County to keep going with a good, relatively good COVID-19 rate of people that have been exposed that are ill and now one who has died, to keep going with that. So I'm asking the commission that you as commissioners share with the county your expectations of what all Warren Countyans should be doing to remain safe and to practice the COVID-19 guidelines. I think of this, and I've been using the term marketing, that you market that as commissioners you lead by example with the public, but that there would be no doubt our county structure, at its head the commissioners support these, promote them. Hokey things like maybe kids contests, poster contests, that masks are great or masks can be fun, whatever it might be. And I did listen last week, I was still hoping that maybe there was a person that had that role. I listened in to this work session, it was last Monday, I think, when you were talking about the CARES Act, hoping that somebody would be here asking for money to do these promotional things. So after that led to my writing a letter to Ben with a copy to Jeff and to Tricia regarding these requests. The other thing that would be handy to have would be a desktop guide to what Warren County should look like when it's practicing and planning for dealing with COVID-19. Now this is where I'm not here on behalf of the Women's Club, but I'm on the board for the Women's Club, and we're doing the best we can to figure what things should we be doing as we open our doors for groups to come in. And if the first time somebody says, go to the CDC website, oh yeah, I can find lots of stuff, and some of it's old, and I don't know if it's older, if the things they have that are still there from April are current. And this is where I thought a county director would have their desktop set of, let me pick this up and see what are the things you should be doing as an organization, what are the things people should be doing, and to have a copy of that distributed would be very handy. But somebody would research it, put it together, and it would be a fluid document because there will be a governor's edict, there will be a CDC new guideline or whatever, but that would be a very handy service in Warren County. So that's, and I guess, to be specific now, that there be money set aside in CARES, if there isn't already, that maybe some groups could request money to help them promote things. If there isn't a whole department, which there isn't, standing behind this, maybe the Arts Council would sponsor a contest or something if they knew there was a little pool of money they could request funds for. Changing gears, my passion now has been dealing with our election guidelines and promoting voting, the things that as a League of Women Voters member, and again, I'm not here on behalf of that group, but something that is of real interest to me. We now, of course, have this, do you call it a court case? That's been brought by the Trump.
Yeah, it's a federal lawsuit that's been brought in the Western District of United States District Court of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to follow that and understand more about it, for instance, will Warren County, is it our elections board technically that's now a defendant, or is it the commissioners general? I mean, they're two different hats of the same people.
Yeah, the Board of Elections in every county, all 67 counties, each of the Board of Elections has been named as a defendant,
Okay.
along with the Secretary of State for Pennsylvania.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
That's that, not the commissioners. Is our Board of Elections supposed to front some money to be part of defending where we are? Is that something that's going to be a cost?
Right now, what we have scheduled is an executive session to take place at 11 o'clock on Wednesday before the regular commissioners meeting. So I've reviewed the complaint. And actually, so I've reviewed the case, and I'm ready to discuss my thoughts about the case with the commissioners, acting as the members of the Board of Elections on Wednesday morning, and to provide a recommended approach.
Could the part where you reviewed the case itself be public, and then you would move to a private session to talk about resolution? Because that would be interesting to hear.
If the commissioners ask me to, I mean, it would be within their discretion.
Okay,
If we take any action, it has to be public.
right, but understanding the case could be a great service to some of us. There might be an audience of one, I don't
would
know,
assume that if we
or
took-
two, maybe.
I would assume that if we took a direction, that we would explain that direction, based on information that we were given.
Okay, well, I would still ask that the general explanation of what the case is about, what's included in it, be something that be public, or later, not just partially, but shared somehow with the public later.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Gafferlin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
Sure.
I had,
So unfortunately, I heard about 5 words that I hear enough direction out of James Floyd, so that's it. So I really don't know. That's all I heard was Attorney Smith's response.
I apologize.
That's okay. Sorry, Josh.
I wanted to ask, we're still under the disaster declaration, correct?
We are. Right, Ben? It hasn't expired yet, has it?
Both the
I
state,
could hear Josh's voice.
Disaster declaration, what I asked you about earlier.
Yeah, so I'm here with Linda Forrest, and we just had a brief conversation about it again as well. There's not a significant reason to end it or continue it, to be honest, but we lean towards wanting to keep it because if there was not 50 cases or we needed more resources, it just allows us the flexibility as it pertains to COVID-19 to have a coherent response. As I said, not a hill we want to, live or die on, but, there's not really any reason to lift the emergency declaration. We haven't used the power given in, a couple months probably.
Okay.
And don't anticipate needing to, but really until the state declaration expires, we don't really see any reason to make sours from my perspective. Jeff, is that all right with you?
No, I agree. I think that we're still in a state where we need to be able to respond quickly, so I agree.
Yeah, it's not like we're waiving all rules or anything. If I sign a contract outside of a public meeting or something, it still becomes public immediately. It just allows me to, the Department of Public Safety needs to do contact tracer or something like that. I have 5 minutes of it in maybe 2 weeks. However long it's over that meeting. So it also keeps our options open with requesting resources from higher government.
Can I ask one follow-up?
Yep.
Can you put together a list or something of hiring a contact tracer of the list that have been taken as a result of the declaration? I mean, are we talking one thing, two things, 50 things? I really don't have any way to know.
That is a good question. Ben, Josh Cotton's asking about a list of actions that have been taken as a direct result of the disaster declaration. Like, so,
Oh, sure. Well, we've announced everything we've done in the following commissioners meeting. The things that jump to mind that we made a relatively big purchase of KN95 masks. We've made some other random purchases, authorized the burn ban, hired the infection control nurse, and everything. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we've had this executive session pertaining to COVID-19 response, which, normally we get more notice and such, as the fact that we're having executive sessions, but, for those, we just have them, as Ken, of course, is one of them. I think that would be a fairly comprehensive list. And again, we've requested quite a few things from FEMA, some of which were accepted, some denied. Those are things that I acted pretty unilaterally on.
That's fair. Like I said, just didn't know whether we've allocated $6 million in contracts in the last 3 months and we wouldn't know.
no.
Okay.
No, I would,
I could give a one more thing. We pretty much used that power to hire the election folks, as well as, the result of COVID-19 really caused us to want to do the mail-in processing, or pause the mail-in processing.
there's also the various correspondence sent to the governors, not the entering of a contract, but 2 different letters that went to the governor on the phases.
Yeah.
I would note, different than the state declaration of emergency, which has to be renewed every 90 days, reviewing the statute that authorizes county states of emergency, there's no automatic expiration, so it will stay in effect until the decision is made by the commissioners to end it.
Did you hear that, Ben?
Yeah, I can hear Attorney Schmidt.
Apparently you have been here today.
There you go.
That's-
Yeah, the rest of us, we can hear you. All right, thanks.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? All right, I will, unless Ben objects, we'll consider the meeting adjourned.
I don't know if Ben since Ben did not hear, was it Judy? Jane, I'm sorry. Jane, since Ben couldn't hear what Jane was saying, I just want to let Ben, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Jane had a question about whether the county has a public health department, and she learned on an investigation that there is not one right now, and since you didn't get to hear that, I wanted to let you know she asked that question, and if you wanted to...
Yes, we are working on it. Yeah, that's a relevant topic point, even with the Northwest Commission Board meeting, it's not a board meeting, sorry, but the NGO, Forrest, and Warren this morning got together with the Northwest Commission to talk about CARES funding, broadband, and one of the things that I keep bringing up is this regional Department of Health idea. It's something that we're earmarking some of the CARES money to set up, and I don't have an exact timeline on when it would be set up, but the CARES money needs to be spent by the end of the year, being spent by us. So I would expect by the end of the year to have an organization, an authority, so to speak, that could be activated in times of crisis, such as the pandemic. So yeah, you'll be hearing more about that, but I do intend to have a thought paper submitted to the commissioners for that work session where we talk through our process, whether that be next Tuesday or the following Monday.
Ben?
Why don't you come closer?
Ben, this is Jane.
Hi.
Oh, that.
Well, no, you should talk into the,
Yeah, speak to the microphone, yeah.
You mentioned in your note to me that there's a a nurse that has been advising and promoting safety to the commissioners?
I'm sorry, could someone closer to the mic repeat?
Jan, why don't you sit there?
Then you had mentioned in your letter to me that there is a nurse that has acted in an advisory capacity and promoting safety.
Yes.
With you, that you've contracted or hired her to do some of that role. Is that a person whose name you can share that I could speak with?
Yes, she is, Joni Bentley. Can she back yet? Okay, she was recently deployed. She should be back soon, but I can definitely give you her email address. You can speak with her, sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to just keep in mind that the State Department of Health is responsible for most of what you're talking about at this point. Like, so the commissioners have a responsibility via the county code to health and welfare of the community, but it doesn't spell out exactly what those duties are. The Department of Health nurse has a responsibility for multiple counties, Warren being one of them, and she's the one that is the lead on the contact tracing and the general health information, and then we support what they do. So until there's some type of regional health department, our responsibility in that is more from a emergency response perspective, like in support of the state.
I hear what you're saying.
Mhm.
I would encourage you to task yourselves with going a step further with
Well,
marketing and as much as you can, and encouraging others to do it
Yeah.
so that it's clear this
Well,
building represents.
Yeah, I guess I'm talking about two separate things. So the marketing thing is another separate piece where I agree with you, like the county could take a greater role in instilling that. I'm just speaking to the fact that I don't want anybody to hear this conversation and get the perspective that there's nobody monitoring health or cases or, and I just want to make it clear that technically speaking right now, it's the state's responsibility to monitor that. We support and we have multiple layers of support that we provide at the state on that.
They gather the statistics and examine them and let you know what's.
Well, even following up when a case is identified and like where that person is and who they interacted with and all of those things, because the quarantining of individuals that have cases is probably the most important thing out of the myriad of things that you can do to respond to those.
And on my quest, as I keep calling it, I learned a little more about that when I talked with the clerk at the state health department office in Warren, and she shared some of the nurse, and I think, I can't remember if Jeff did, or if Ben did in his letter.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I would just add that this is probably one of the reasons to continue with the local emergency declaration so that the structure that the county has set up to stay on top of the new COVID cases and response remains in effect. The state continues its emergency declaration order. The county needs to be responsive to any, new orders that the governor sends down. It seems to me that the situation still is here as much as it was in March. So from a practical standpoint, certainly could make the recommendation that the local emergency order stay in effect as a stand-in for a public health department until one's set up.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All of you or you all?
Does anybody have any other questions, comments? All right, with that, I will consider the work session adjourned at 12:36.